have a quick piece of breaking news that we'd like to put out for our viewers, and this is a statement that's been released by the IDF, where the Israeli Defense Forces are talking about how they are striking Tehran and Beirut simultaneously. This is a significant statement that's come from the IDF. They're talking about how Israeli Air Force has launched a broad wave of attacks targeting the Iranian terror regime. This is how they choose to put it. And Iran-backed Hezbollah terrorists in Lebanon. This is a coordinated offensive on both fronts. So, in fact, let me bring in the other guests also. But before we do that, Sanjay and Siddhant, our colleagues, continue to be with us on the broadcast. Siddhant, let me come to you about this. We are constantly talking about this counter-offensive that's coming in from Israel, particularly after the Iranian proxies, namely the Hezbollah, got into this entire conflict after the assassination of the Supreme Leader Khamenei. And then we saw how Lebanon was pounded, and particularly the Hezbollah infra. Now IDF is putting out this in black and white, that they are not just going ahead and attacking Beirut. They are in fact looking at the Hezbollah terrorists in Lebanon, but also the Iranian regime. They are constantly going ahead and attacking them. They are talking about how Tehran and Beirut are simultaneously being targeted by the IDF.
Well, that is exactly what Lebanese political leadership is also saying. In fact, they are also blaming Hezbollah for pulling Israel back to Lebanon. This time around, it was started by Hezbollah. The rockets were fired at Israel, and perhaps after which Israel launched retaliatory strikes. So the political leadership there is upset with what Hezbollah is doing. In fact, they have come in public on social media. They have been writing, criticizing Hezbollah for opening once again front with Israel. And now Israel is conducting simultaneous strikes in both Lebanon and Iran. Now, also one thing which I would like to highlight here is that there is next level of psychological warfare which is going on here between the Iranian forces and Israeli and US forces. Now you look how Iranian forces have started announcing the strikes they are conducting, that they have hit this US airbase, they have done strikes there. So it's kind of a psychological warfare, and both sides want to project themselves as dominating this war. And perhaps this is the reason that with each passing hour this conflict is getting escalated. So it's kind of a warfare, psychological warfare also, which is going on, where both sides are kind of claiming how much damage they are causing to the other side. And this trend we have been seeing from last 2 days, that how Israel takes credit for strikes being conducted. Israel declares that we have conducted precision strikes, we have bombarded this place in Lebanon, in Iran, and the same is now being done by IRGC as well.
So it's a narrative war which is being waged. I do want to bring in Sanjay into the conversation as well for a detailed analysis on what Israel's strategy is looking like at the moment, because Sanjay, for Israel, all of it began on 7th October 2023 with Hamas attacks taking place. That was the trigger point. That's what led to the first series of problems, chaos in the Middle East. It's culminated in a way in the dual strikes carried out by Israel and the United States of America. What appears to be at the moment Israel's interim and long-term strategy?
Well, 7th October was it's a tragic moment, a defining moment for Israel. Israel took that loss in its stride, as it does when it has to, but really it has steeled up determination within Israel that it must not just fight its enemies, it will be set out to finish its enemies. So it has been in a state of continuing preparation. Israel sees Iran and the Iranian regime as the fountainhead of terror in the whole region, and we have seen what Israel and the US are seeking to do and have begun to launch. It is, of course, rather interesting, quite extraordinary that in day 3 days into the war, we are still speaking of two sides, and that itself speaks for itself. This is poor Iran alone. On the other hand, you have Israel and the US together. There's no match here. It's such a mismatch by the looks of it, but yet we are speaking of two sides, each hitting the other. Iran is managing to hit back, and Israel's plans are certainly going to be affected and to an extent compromised by the level of resistance coming in from Iran. And now the Israelis are clearly preparing to launch a very strong offensive in the north against the Hezbollah. Hezbollah broke the agreement. It fired and it targeted Israelis. We have further reports that the Ramat David Air Base in northern Israel has been targeted. Israel is not a country to sit back in the face of this kind of thing. 100,000 plus reservists have been called up. We are likely to see a very strong Israeli offensive in the north aimed at Hezbollah, and that will end really the present situation in the buffer zone that has been put in place between Israel and the Hezbollah forces within Lebanon.
Okay, yes. Strong messaging at the moment coming in both from Israel and the United States of America.